If you love intense HFY stories where humanity turns fear into strength, don't forget to like and subscribe, so you never miss what happens next in the galaxy's darkest wars. Some places don't welcome visitors. They warn them. Black Spire Hold was one of those places. The first thing Rowan Cade noticed when he arrived was that even the doors looked hostile. Massive steel slabs carved into the cliffside of Varnix Menace 3, a storm moon where red lightning never stopped crawling across the sky. Every strike lit the walls like burning veins. The facility didn't feel built. It felt imposed. Not a base. A warning. Rowan stepped out of the transport with a worn jacket, a dented field tablet, and a cup of coffee that already tasted like regret. He looked up slowly. Gun towers. Armored patrols. Silent alien cadets standing in perfect formation like statues that had forgotten how to breathe. Rowan muttered under his breath. Yeah, this place really screams friendly workplace environment. A nearby guard turned his head slightly. One silver eye locked onto him. Black Spire Hold is a strategic command sanctuary, the guard said coldly. Rowan nodded once. Right. My mistake. Prison with better branding. No one laughed. That was the first rule here. Nothing was relaxed. Everything was controlled. And everything obeyed. Rowan wasn't here as a hero. He never liked that word. Heroes were what people called you after something had already gone wrong. His assignment was simple. Observe non-human war assets. Record behavior. Report risk. In normal words, someone built something dangerous. And now it wouldn't listen to anyone. So they sent a human. Because humans were supposed to notice things machines and aliens missed. As Rowan was escorted through the yard, he saw it clearly. Doors opened only after triple confirmation. Footsteps matched exact timing. Even silence felt regulated. Everything here moved like a machine pretending to be alive. Rowan glanced at his escort. So, do people laugh here? Or is that classified as emotional contamination? No answer. He sighed. Good talk. They descended deeper into the facility. With every level, Black Spire changed. Level 1 was strict. Level 3 was colder. Level 6 had impact scars in the walls. Level 7 had broken command pylons stacked like discarded bones. By Level 8, every guard wore full face shields. And nobody stood near the main doors unless they had to. Rowan finally stopped joking. That usually meant something in his head had started paying attention. A heavy lift door opened. And a woman stepped in. Handler Sierra Vin. Tall. Scarred jaw. Eyes like she had stopped believing in surprises a long time ago. She looked at Rowan like a problem that had just been delivered in a box. Cadet Rowan Cade, she said. You are cleared for observation only. Rowan raised a brow. That sounds less like permission and more like a warning. Sierra didn't react. You will not approach the asset. Rowan tilted his head slightly. The asset. You will not speak to it. He blinked. Okay. You will not attempt interaction. He nodded slowly. That last one feels personal. The lift descended. Deeper. Quieter. Heavier. The air itself felt like it was being pressed down. Finally, Sierra spoke again. Understand this before you see it. Rowan stayed quiet. The asset is not a prisoner. The lift lights flickered. It is not a beast. Another level dropped. It is a siege-class war organism. Rowan exhaled softly. So, what do you call something like that when it stops listening? Sierra didn't answer. That silence was the answer. The lift stopped. A reinforced glass overlook waited ahead. Sierra stepped forward and said one line that changed everything. His name is Korath. Rowan looked through the glass. At first, there was nothing. Just darkness. Then the darkness moved. Slow. Heavy. Like the room itself had learned how to breathe. And something inside it had decided to wake up. Korath rose. Massive. Armored in charcoal bioplates. 4 glowing amber eyes opened one by one. Chains wrapped around his body. Not tight. Not restraining. Just suggesting control. Like the facility itself wasn't fully sure it was enough. A handler below shouted a command. Sharp alien words echoed through the chamber. Lower. Korath didn't move. He turned his head slowly. Not angry. Not confused. Just watching. Like the command was something he had heard too many times to respect anymore. Another handler raised a control rod. A faint pulse cracked through the air. Obey. Still nothing. Rowan frowned slightly. That thing doesn't look like it's ignoring commands. Sierra glanced at him. Then what does it look like? Rowan kept watching. Like it stopped believing them. Korath shifted slightly. And then, for the first time, all four amber eyes turned upward. Directly toward the observation glass. Directly toward Rowan. The room didn't change. But something in it did. Rowan felt it like pressure behind his chest. Like the creature wasn't looking at him. It was measuring him. A cadet behind him whispered, "It ignores every command." Another voice answered, "It only responds to pain thresholds." Rowan didn't look away. Because Korath wasn't raging. That was the strange part. He was thinking. And that was more dangerous than violence. Rowan finally spoke quietly. "That's not an animal that's refusing orders." Sierra narrowed her eyes. "Then what is it?" Rowan's voice lowered. "That's something that understands orders." He paused. And decided every one of them came with a price. Korath didn't move. But he didn't stop looking either. And for the first time in Black Spire Hold, the thing everyone called a weapon was paying attention to the human who had no command rod in his hand. Korath did not move. But he also did not look away. That silence between human and war creature stretched longer than anyone in Black Spire Hold was comfortable with. Rowan finally broke eye contact first. Not because he was afraid. Because he had learned something important. Staring contests with things that could break walls were usually a bad investment. Sierra's voice cut in low beside him. "Step back from the glass." Rowan didn't move. "Technically, I'm not at the glass. I'm emotionally near it." "That still counts." He sighed and leaned back slightly. Below them, the chamber changed. A feeding platform slid in through a sealed gate. Heavy. Grey nutrient block. Water tray. No words spoken. No commands issued yet. Just procedure. A handler stepped forward and raised a control rod. A sharp command echoed through the chamber. "Korath. Feed." The sound hit the room like a trigger. But Korath didn't respond. He only turned his head slightly toward the platform. Then toward the rod. Then toward the handler. Like he was replaying a pattern he had already memorized too many times. Rowan narrowed his eyes. "He's not ignoring it." Sierra replied instantly. "He is refusing compliance." Rowan shook his head slowly. "No." That made Sierra look at him. "No." Rowan pointed down through the glass. He's waiting to see what happens next. The handler lifted the rod again. The air snapped with a faint energy pulse. A warning. Not contact. Not yet. A promise of pain. Korath's spines lifted slightly along his back. Not aggressive. Defensive. Careful. Like his body had learned to prepare before thinking was even finished. The handler repeated louder. "Feed. Now." Still nothing. The silence in the chamber became heavier than sound. Rowan muttered under his breath. "This isn't discipline." Sierra glanced at him. "Then what is it?" Rowan's eyes stayed locked on Korath. "It's conditioning. Every time he hears a command, something bad follows it." Below, Korath finally moved. Not toward the food. Not toward the handler. Toward the floor. He struck once. Hard. The water tray flipped instantly, spilling across the stone. The handler cursed. Refusal again. Sierra frowned. "That is non-compliance." Rowan corrected quietly. "No. That's interruption." Sierra turned slightly. "Explain." Rowan leaned forward. He didn't reject food. A pause. He rejected the ritual around it. Below, Korath backed into the shadow again. Not eating. Not attacking. Just waiting. Watching. Sierra's voice lowered. You are interpreting behavior based on assumption. Rowan didn't look at her. No. He tapped the glass lightly. I'm interpreting repetition. A long silence followed. Then the chamber crew removed the untouched food. Like it never mattered. But Rowan's expression changed slightly. That's the real problem, he muttered. Sierra asked, What problem? Rowan looked at her now. He's learning that nothing comes without pressure. Sierra didn't respond. Because she couldn't deny it easily. That night, Black Spire Hold got its first mistake. Rowan didn't sleep. Not really. The storm outside the facility shook the windows like something trying to get in. Red lightning flashed across the cliffs. Every strike painted the room in brief warning light. Rowan sat on his bed staring at his tablet. Then closed it. Then opened it again. Then finally stood up. This is how reports turn into footnotes, he muttered. He moved quietly. Too quietly for someone who was supposed to stay in the upper wing. His access badge still worked on maintenance routes. Which meant one of two things. Either Black Spire Hold trusted him. Or it had stopped caring who went where. He stepped into the lower observation corridor. No weapon. No escort. Just a small lamp. And curiosity dressed as bad judgment. Far below, Korath was still awake. Of course he was. 4 amber eyes opened slowly in the dark, locking instantly onto Rowan. No hesitation. No surprise. Just recognition. Rowan stopped at a safe distance. Raised both hands slightly. Hey. A pause. I'm not here to order you to do anything. Silence. He exhaled. Which is probably the first time anyone has said that to you in a while. Korath shifted slightly. Chains whispered across stone. Not pulling tight. Not stopping him. Just present. Rowan slowly sat down against the wall outside the chamber glass. Legs crossed. Hands open. No rods, he said calmly. No commands. No. Whatever emotional damage your handlers usually bring. A faint rumble came from Korath's chest. Not a growl. Not aggression. Just awareness. Rowan tilted his head slightly. I'm just sitting here. A beat. Doing nothing. He glanced down. I know that sounds suspicious. The silence stretched. Long enough that most humans would have filled it with noise. Rowan didn't. Korath slowly stepped forward. One movement. Then another. Careful. Measured. Not responding to a command. Responding to absence of one. He reached the feeding platform that still sat near the chamber wall. The same untouched nutrient block from earlier. He looked at it. Then looked at Rowan. Then back at the food. Rowan stayed still. Didn't speak. Didn't gesture. Didn't help. Just watched. Korath lowered his head. And ate. No command. No rod. No punishment waiting behind it. Just choice. When he finished, he didn't retreat immediately. He stayed there, watching Rowan through the glass. Rowan gave a small nod. Yeah. He muttered softly. That one counts. Korath exhaled slowly. Deep. Controlled. Like something inside him had finally paused without being forced. For the first time. The chamber didn't feel like a cage reacting to commands. It felt like a space where something had decided. And somewhere above, Black Spire Hold quietly recorded a result it didn't fully understand yet. Non-compliance had not stopped the creature. But absence of command had changed it.by morning. Black Spire Hold already had a problem. And it had a name. Korath. But the official reports didn't use that name. They used something safer. Cleaner. Non-compliant asset. Rowan stared at that line on his tablet and exhaled slowly. That's not a classification, he muttered. That's a way of avoiding guilt. Sierra stood beside him in the observation bay, arms folded tight. You were getting emotionally attached to a test subject. Rowan didn't look at her. I'm noticing patterns. That's what you call it when you don't want to admit something is wrong. Below them, Korath stood in the chamber. Still. Watching. Not sleeping. Not resting. Just present in a place that never stopped watching him back. Sierra's voice stayed cold. He is a siege-class organism, not a person. Rowan finally turned his head slightly. Then why does he behave like one when no one is hurting him? Silence. That was the problem. Silence always meant someone didn't have a clean answer. A handler entered the lower chamber. Control rod active. This time no food. No water. Just a test. The speaker crackled. Korath. Compliance check. The words echoed through the chamber like a reflex. Korath's spines lifted instantly. Not aggression. Memory. Rowan leaned forward. This is it again. Sierra frowned. What? Rowan pointed down. Watch his body. The handler raised the rod slightly. A faint pulse of energy snapped through the air. Korath flinched. Just slightly. But enough. Not because of the command. Because of what usually came after it. The handler spoke again, louder. Lower posture. Korath didn't obey. But he also didn't attack. He stayed frozen. Waiting for impact that never came. Rowan's voice dropped. He's not resisting commands. He's bracing for consequences. Sierra looked down sharply. That is speculation. Rowan shook his head. No. That's repetition. Below, the handler raised the rod again. And this time, nothing happened. No strike. No shock. Just threat. A suspended punishment. Korath tilted his head slightly. Like something inside him was recalculating reality. Rowan whispered. That's new. Sierra asked quietly. What is? Rowan's eyes stayed locked on the chamber. He just learned that pain isn't guaranteed. A long pause. Then Korath moved. Not toward the handler. Not toward the rod. Toward the empty space where command used to be. He stepped forward once. Slow. Heavy. The handler instinctively backed up. That was enough. Korath stopped. He did not chase. He did not attack. He simply watched the retreat. And in that moment, something shifted. Rowan exhaled. He's not reacting to power. Sierra frowned. Then what is he reacting to? Rowan's voice softened. To intention. The handler left quickly after that. The chamber returned to silence. But it wasn't the same silence anymore. It felt uncertain. Like something in the rules had cracked. That evening, Sierra brought Rowan back to the lower observation rail. You need to understand something, she said. Rowan leaned against the glass. Go ahead. Sierra's voice lowered. Every interaction with Korath is recorded as non-compliance or aggression. Rowan nodded slowly. Because those are the only two outcomes you're allowed to see. Sierra narrowed her eyes. You think there is a third outcome? Rowan looked down at Korath. I think there's something you forgot to measure. Sierra waited. Rowan continued. What happens when you don't command him at all? Sierra didn't answer. Because they already knew. They just didn't like it. Down below, Korath was closer to the center now. Not pacing. Not restless. Just existing in a space where no one was shouting at him. Rowan spoke quietly. He doesn't understand obedience as loyalty. A pause. He understands it as survival. Sierra's voice turned sharp again. That is still obedience. Rowan shook his head. No. He tapped the glass lightly. That's adaptation. A long silence followed. Then a junior technician behind them whispered something without meaning to. He's less violent when no one gives orders. That sentence landed heavier than expected. Because no one corrected it immediately. Sierra's jaw tightened. Observation continues, she finally said. But her voice didn't sound as certain anymore. That night, Black Spire Hold tried a new method. They called it controlled escalation. Rowan called it something else. Trying the same mistake louder. A target drone was released into the chamber. No food. No silence. Just motion. The drone activated with a sharp mechanical hum. It moved toward Korath fast. Testing reaction time. Testing aggression. Testing obedience. The speaker ordered. Korath. Neutralize target. The command echoed. Loud. Clear. Absolute. Korath didn't move immediately. He watched the drone. Watched the handlers. Watched the walls. Watched the room itself like it was part of the threat. Then the drone changed direction slightly. And for a fraction of a second, it passed too close to a technician near the gate. A young one. Frozen. Unarmed. Human instinct kicked in before training. Korath moved. Not toward the drone. Between them. A single impact. Metal against armored bioplate. The drone crashed sideways. The technician dropped backward in shock. And Korath stayed standing between them. Not attacking. Not chasing. Just protecting distance. Rowan's voice broke the silence. That's not obedience. Sierra whispered. No. Rowan finished. That's judgment. From above, Commandant Ka's voice snapped through the system. That is interference. Rowan didn't look away from the chamber. No. A beat. That's a decision. Below, Korath slowly turned his head. 4 amber eyes lifted upward. Not toward the drone. Not toward the handler. Toward the observation rail. Toward Rowan. And for the first time, the room didn't feel like it belonged to Black Spire Hold anymore. It felt like it belonged to whatever Korath decided was worth protecting. And that terrified the people who built it. Black Spire Hold didn't like what it was seeing. Not because Korath had become more dangerous, but because he had become less predictable in the way they controlled danger. And that was worse. Much worse. Rowan stood in the observation bay, watching the lower chamber, his expression unusually still. Sierra was beside him, silent for once. That alone told Rowan things were getting serious. Below, Korath stood in the center of the arena. Not restrained tighter than before. Not calmer. Just aware. Like the room itself had started speaking a language he finally understood. Sierra broke the silence. This is escalating. Rowan didn't look at her. No. She frowned. No. Rowan pointed downward. This is reacting. Sierra's jaw tightened. To what? Rowan's voice stayed low. To pressure that thinks it is control. Before she could respond, the facility changed. A deep hum rolled through the walls. Not alarms. Not emergency protocol. Something older. Something buried. The lights across the arena flickered. Then shifted. From white to violet. Rowan's stomach dropped slightly. That's not normal. Sierra stepped closer to the glass. That system hasn't been active in decades. Below them, Korath froze. Not fear. Recognition. The chamber floor lit up with thin violet lines. Like veins waking under stone. Then the command pylons rose. One by one. Silent. Precise. Ancient machinery activating without human input. Rowan's voice went quiet. What did you just wake up? Sierra's answer came slower than he liked. Legacy restraint lattice. Rowan turned his head slightly. That sounds like a very polite way to say we built something we stopped understanding. A loud crack echoed through the chamber. Korath flinched. Not from impact. From signal. The violet light wasn't random. It was targeting him. The pylons pulsed in sequence. A rhythm. A command structure. Not spoken. Broadcasted into his nervous system. Rowan stepped forward. He's reacting to it. Sierra nodded once. It is designed to override siege class cognition. Rowan blinked. In simple words. Sierra's voice dropped. It tells him what to fear. Silence hit the room like a weight. Below, Korath shook once. Not violently, but like something inside him had been grabbed. The restraint bands on his body began to glow faint violet. The system was active. Fully active. And it was rewriting him. Rowan's fists tightened. He's not attacking. Sierra whispered. He's resisting. A drone unfolded from the wall. Then another. Then 6. All marked with violet light. All locking onto Korath. The system spoke without words. Eliminate instability. Restore obedience. The first drone fired. Korath moved instantly. He blocked it, took the impact across his armored side. But the lattice responded immediately. A surge of violet energy ran through his restraint bands. His body buckled for a second. Rowan stepped back half a step. That's not training. Sierra's voice cracked slightly. That is correction. Another drone fired. Korath blocked again. And again. Each impact triggered the system. Each resistance tightened the punishment. Rowan's voice hardened. So the more he protects someone, the more you punish him for it. Sierra didn't answer. Because she couldn't. Below, a technician near the gate screamed. Trapped behind a jammed barrier. A drone rotated toward them. Target locked. Rowan saw it at the same time Korath did. And something changed in Korath's posture. The system marked the technician as secondary. Collateral. Acceptable loss. Korath moved. Hard. He didn't attack the drone. He took the hit meant for the technician. A full blast across his side. The violet lattice erupted instantly. His body dropped to one knee. Rowan's voice snapped. He's shielding them. Sierra whispered. And the system is punishing him for it. Another surge hit Korath. His claws dug into the floor. He didn't fall. But he was shaking now. Not from fear. From overload. Rowan stepped toward the emergency stairwell. Sierra grabbed his arm. If you go down there, you'll be marked as interference. Rowan looked at her. That's the first thing in this building that sounds honest. She tightened her grip. You won't survive it. Rowan's voice dropped. He's already doing something none of your systems understand. A bait. He's choosing who lives. He pulled free and ran. The arena gate opened just enough for him to slip through. The air inside was wrong. Charged. Heavy. Like the room itself was thinking too loudly. Every drone turned. Locking onto him. Violet targeting. He was now part of the system. Rowan raised his hand slowly. Okay, he muttered. Now I'm officially involved. Great. Behind him, Korath saw him. And something in his posture shifted. Protective instinct sharpened instantly. He moved between Rowan and the drones. Taking another hit. Then another. Rowan flinched. Hey, no, don't do that for me. Korath didn't respond. He couldn't. The lattice was suppressing him. Rowan looked up toward the control bay. Turn it off. Commandant Ka's voice echoed back. Continue suppression. Asset instability confirmed. Rowan shouted back. He's not unstable, he's consistent. A drone fired toward Rowan. Korath blocked it again. The impact dropped him slightly. The violet bands flared brighter. Rowan's voice broke through the noise. Stop protecting me. Korath froze for half a second. Then looked at him. 4 amber eyes. Strained. Focused. Rowan stepped closer. No commands, he said. No orders. Just breath. You don't have to take every hit alone. A long pause. The lattice surged again. Korath trembled. And then. He didn't attack. He didn't obey. He stopped reacting to the system for one heartbeat. Just one. And in that heartbeat, he made a decision. He moved. Not randomly. Not under control. But with intent. He tore one command pylon out of the floor. The entire system screamed in violet light. Every drone flickered. Rowan stared. Okay. He whispered. That's new. Sierra's voice came through comms, urgent. Rowan, get out. Rowan didn't move. No. He looked at Korath. Not yet. Korath stood over the broken pylon. The system tried to force him down again. But something had changed. Because now, he wasn't just reacting to pain. He was reacting to purpose. And for the first time in Black Spire Hold's recorded history, the system didn't know how to correct it. Black Spire Hold had one job. Control what could not be controlled. And for a long time, it believed it was winning. Until the moment Korath tore the first command pylon out of the floor. Then everything changed. The arena didn't just shake. It reacted. Violet light spread through the chamber like a living error. The legacy ladder screamed through the system, old code colliding with modern restraint protocols. And for the first time in its existence, it didn't know what to do. Rowan stood in the middle of it all, hands half raised, breathing hard, trying not to become another incident report. Korath stood between him and the remaining drones, massive, shaking, not from fear, but from resistance. The system was still inside him, still pushing, still trying to force obedience through pain. A drone locked onto Rowan. The final target shift. Command priority changed. Human equals threat center. Rowan saw it. So now I'm the problem, he muttered. Of course I am. The drone fired. Korath moved instantly. But this time, he didn't just block it. He caught it. The impact hit his arm like a meteor strike. His restraint bands flared bright violet again. His body buckled to one knee. But he did not let go. Rowan's eyes widened slightly. Hey, big guy, don't do that. Korath's 4 amber eyes turned toward him. Not fully focused. Not fully free. But still there. Still him. The system tried again. A pulse surged through the lattice, forcing him down, punishing resistance. But something was different now. The punishment wasn't producing obedience anymore. It was producing choice under pressure. And Korath was learning faster than the system could adapt. Another drone aimed at a trap technician near the gate. Rowan saw it. Korath saw it. Both moved at the same time. But Korath moved first. He stepped into the path again, took the hit, protected them. And this time, he stayed standing, even as the ladder screamed through his body. Rowan's voice cracked. Stop doing that like it's the only option you have. Korath didn't respond, but his head turned slightly toward Rowan, like he understood, but didn't agree. Above them, Commandant Ka's voice roared through the speakers. Full restraint overload. Break him into compliance. Sierra's voice cut in immediately. If you overload it, you'll kill him. Ka snapped back. Then he was never stable. Rowan looked up, and something in him went very still. No, he said quietly. He was never allowed to be stable. He turned toward the central control rail, opened the third lock. Ka ignored him. Remove the human from the arena. Rowan shouted back. You can remove me later. Right now your asset is holding your entire system together with his spine. Silence hit the control bay, because everyone could see it. Korath was still standing, still shielding the technician, still absorbing punishment meant to erase him, and still refusing to collapse. Sierra stepped forward, voice sharp. Commandant, the lattice is feeding back. Ka's eyes narrowed. What? Sierra looked at the readings. It is no longer controlling him. A pause. It is synchronizing with him. Rowan whispered. Oh no. The system surged again. Harder. The arena lights flickered violently. Drones lost coordination. And for a moment, everything went white. When vision returned, silence had replaced chaos. The drones were down. The pylons were cracked or torn free. The violet light was fading from the walls like dying veins. And Korath was still standing. Barely. His body was damaged. His breathing heavy. But the technician behind him was alive. Rowan stepped forward slowly. Hey. Korath turned his head slightly. One amber eye focused. Tired. But present. Rowan swallowed. You can stop now. A pause. Soft silence. Then Korath lowered his head. Not in submission. Not in defeat. Just release. The last of the violet glow in his restraint bands dimmed completely. And fell away. The chains didn't break. They simply stopped meaning anything. Above them, Ka's voice was gone. No command. No override. No control. Just silence. Sierra's voice came through comms, quieter now. He's free. Rowan nodded once. Yeah. He looked at Korath. But not because we let him be. He stepped closer. Korath didn't move. Didn't react. Just watched. Rowan slowly lowered his hands. No rods. No devices. No authority. Just presence. You didn't obey, Rowan said softly. You didn't rebel either. A breath. You chose. Korath exhaled slowly. Deep. Controlled. And for the first time, it wasn't shaped by pain. Rowan gave a faint, tired smile. So what now? Korath didn't answer. Not in words. Instead, he stepped forward. One step. Then stopped beside Rowan. Not behind him. Not in front of him. Just beside him. Choosing position. Not command. Not instinct. Choice. Sierra whispered over comms. He's following you. Rowan looked at Korath. Then at the broken arena. Then at the silence where control used to live. He sighed. Yeah, he said quietly. But not because I told him to. Korath stayed there. Amber eyes calm now. Not a weapon waiting for orders. Not a creature escaping restraint. Just something that had finally learned the difference between being controlled and being understood. And for the first time in Black Spirehold's history, no one had a command for that.